But our big story today has been on US President Barack Obama's visit here to the national capital ahead of Republic Day, where he is a state guest. Now, Obama has won many hearts when he began the Indo-US joint statement with an accented namaste, mera pyar bhara namaskar. But the cornerstone of the press briefing was the announcement of a breakthrough in the nuclear deal deadlock. Just listen in first to the highlights of this day.
Today we achieved a breakthrough understanding on two issues that were holding up our ability to advance our civil nuclear cooperation, and we're committed to moving towards full implementation. And this is an important step that shows how we can work together to elevate our relationship.
I am pleased that 6 years after we signed our bilateral agreement, we are moving towards commercial cooperation, consistent with our law, our international legal obligations, and technical and commercial viability.
We agreed to deepen our defense and security cooperation. We've renewed the framework that guides our defense cooperation for another 10 years. And in a major step forward for our relationship, our defense technology and trade initiative will allow us to jointly develop and produce new defense technologies.
We have agreed in principle to pursue co-development and co-production of specific advanced defense projects. This will help upgrade our domestic defense industry and expand the manufacturing sector in India.
I reiterated and reiterate to the Indian people today that we support a reformed UN Security Council that includes India as a permanent member. At the same time, we see India playing a greater role in ensuring international security and peace and meeting shared challenges. As a leading contributor to UN peacekeeping missions for many years, India can help the world do even more to protect citizens in conflict zones.
We have agreed that India and the United States must regular summits at greater frequency, and we also established hotlines between myself and Barack and our national security advisors.
Namaste, mera pyar bhara namaskar. Prime Minister Modi, thank you for hosting me, including our chai pe churcha. We need more of those in the White House.
मेरी और बराक के बीच में वो दोस्ती बन गई है। उस खुलेपन के कारण हम आराम से फोन पे बात कर लेते हैं, हम आराम से गप मार लेते हैं, हंसी मजाक कर लेते हैं। इस केमिस्ट्री ने मुझको और बराक को तो निकट लाया ही है, वॉशिंगटन और दिल्ली को भी निकट लाया है, लेकिन अमेरिका की जनता और हिंदुस्तान की जनता को भी निकट लाया है।
We're also reflecting the warmth and affection between the Indian people and the American people. Although I will share one thing, and that is we compared how much sleep each of us is getting. And it turns out that Modi is getting even less sleep than me. But of course that's because he's still new. After you've been doing this for about 6 years, maybe he'll be able to get an extra hour.
Okay, there you've got the two leaders there sharing a warm chemistry, some would say, building towards a relationship with our expert panels here, two politicians, Sanjay Jha of the Congress and GVL Narasimha Rao of the BJP. But as we were listening to those comments, there were some concerns expressed by the diplomats on the panel, because they were not pleased with the fact that Narendra Modi was addressing President Obama in that formal setting as Barack. You had a problem with that? He should have addressed him as Barack.
Well, it seems to have been informal because he's not referred to him as Prime Minister Modi, but as Modi. So if they are comfortable with each other on that...
No, you were troubled. I was listening to you all in the break and you seemed... you were not happy with the use of the word Barack.
He didn't call him by his first name.
No. Is there a problem? Is there a problem? The Americans often refer to the leaders by their first name, don't they?
No, only not in the public. We've known each other for a long time, and not in a formal setting when you're making statements, which the whole nation is watching, that nation is watching.
So he should have said President Obama, you're saying?
They do say it with, if they've been friends for a long time, etc. But I think...
Barack Obama calls David Cameron David.
Yeah, but look, it either starts with a second name. If you're saying Modi...
Not while making formal statements.
Yeah, formal statements.
Is it not while... Kamal Sibal, are you entirely happy with that? Let's just clear this. Because you, as diplomats, you know this better than anyone
else. What you said about David Cameron and Barack Obama is correct. I watched their joint press conference the other day, and constantly they were referring to each other by their first names. So if you have reached that level of informality between the two, then yes, you can do that.
So maybe Mr. Modi is trying to send out the message that they've reached that level of informality.
I think this is the message he actually is wanting to send out, that I have struck such a good personal rapport with the US President that I have now come on a first name basis with him. And this is the message he's conveying. But I would say that in this formal setting,
a bit jarring.
It might have been a little more appropriate to refer to him as President Obama.
Modi likes to break protocol. Let's be honest. He's a game changer. You're looking at it more like diplomats from Lutyens, Delhi. He's the man who's looking at it more in a very different way.
Chemistry between leaders can be a very tenuous thing. George Bush said he looked into the eyes of Putin. Can be like teenagers going out. They can be where basic interests do not coalesce.
Yes.
You can certainly have all this informality vanish.
Okay,
but in a sense, it raises Prime Minister Modi's own stage. There is that subtle message.
That's right. I think the message was very clear that Prime Minister Modi was sending out a message to the world that he is no longer just President Obama for me, he is my friend Barack. And I think that's a valuable message, some would say, and that's the way the Americans look at diplomacy at times.
He's the leader of a big country.
And he's a leader of a big country. I think that is the way Modi has made his power statement, some would say, for a day. But has this visit been about that? Has it been about atmospherics or substance? Is a question we've been trying to come to terms with. A little bit more credit than most congressmen seem to be giving at the moment to Prime Minister Modi. He has, in a sense, proved all of you wrong. He's showing a very deft diplomacy at work, whether it's with China, whether it's now with the United States, whether it's with Japan, whether it's with SAARC, whether it's with Australia.
I will agree with some of your other panel members, Rajdeep, because, end of day, if two people have a great personal chemistry, you don't really stress it in as many words in a public domain. And, you have had an issue, and let's not try and ignore it. I don't think I'm going to be, politically correct here today merely because it's a Republic Day and Prime Minister Modi has invited President Obama. But I do believe that when he went on repeating his personal chemistry, I think calling the American president by the first name, I felt was extremely inappropriate. End of day, I think the baggage of the fact that he wasn't given a visa for several years somewhere definitely weighs on the mind of Mr. Modi, and he tries very hard at this point of time to make it appear that there's a lot of bonhomie and close proximity.
So are you saying that this is part of
stark reality?
Are you saying that this is something that has been preying on Mr. Modi's mind, that Mr. Modi is trying to make it out to the world that he's now fully acceptable to the Americans? Is that what you're claiming because he was denied a visa for that decade?
Well, I can tell you that while a lot of you in the media seem to be crediting Mr. Modi with foreign policy, I think you'll be hard-pressed to find many prime ministers who haven't done extremely well in terms of the foreign policy of India consistently over the last... If Mr. Vajpayee was effective, so was Dr. Manmohan Singh. So I do believe that there's a consistency here that we are not trying to challenge that. But I think there's a critical point here that end of day where President Obama's visit to India is concerned, the kind of hype that has been created over his Republic Day visit. Let's not forget that he's an outgoing president. Mr. Modi is right in there. I think the stakeholder equation between the two is very, very different. And Mr. Modi, as we all know,
hold on, Sanjay. You want to say something else, but I think are you going a step too far, Mr. Parzad?
I think that's not correct, because in the United States, the relationship with India is one of those few countries which enjoys bipartisan support. So nobody is going to either oppose Mr. Obama having come here or for any deal he comes and strikes here.
everybody in the United States, cutting across the political spectrum, given their experiences with China and terrorism in Pakistan.
The history of US presidents is, a lot of them have done a lot of foreign policy work in the last 2 years, because they are not up for re-election.
So you don't see him as a lame duck president?
President Clinton was doing West Asia peace till his last day.
President Carter,
yes, therefore, with rather less success.
You are not up for re-election.
Yes.
For things, most things the US president doesn't require the US Congress or Senate. So, he can achieve a hell of a lot without, and he's mainly looking for a legacy. So he's not worried about re-election or the impact it has.
And one last thing, his legacy is going to be environment. He does not want India to act as a spoiler in Paris. He's bending backwards to say we don't.
No, it's interesting, but on that precise issue of climate change and clean energy, we haven't seen a major breakthrough in this visit. I'm looking at the...
read hydrofluorocarbons.
Yeah, but it's not...
It's put in there.
No.
Yeah,
so we have to deliver
there's no breakthrough as such.
No, they've said we will.
Would be relevant if there were issues with India which actually would require
the
congressional approval.
Exactly.
Right.
Then yes, then you could say that there is a problem. But that is not the case. As he rightly said, there's bipartisan consensus in the US Congress.
Can I just take that to the BJP? Can I just take that to the BJP? Because the Congress, I think, and Sanjay Jha was trying to provoke the BJP by suggesting that Mr. Modi is going out of his way to show that he is a great friend of Barack Obama because the legacy of 10 years or 12 years of being denied a US visa after the Gujarat riots haunts him. How do you respond to that? How does the BJP respond to the fact that the Congress still rakes up the issue of visa denial?
I think the people of the country would certainly be very greatly appreciative of the Prime Minister who has put behind a saga of this visa denial and as a true statesman and to realize the full potential of the relationship with the United States. He has put that bad chapter behind. And he's really set out, he's now actually keen on building up the great partnership between the two countries.
So
I think it goes very well in his favor.
It doesn't rankle him somewhere deep down inside. Is there a sense which I need to go that extra step with the United States, almost to prove to my critics that look, the United States is a great friend of mine?
No, Rajdeep, actually that's what I'm telling you. The people of the country, there is no rancor in him. And he does not want to hold any personal prejudices that were shown towards him. And honestly, today is not a day when I want to. One second, I don't want to indulge it.
Rising above the past is the way the BJP is seeing it. His past could have haunted him. They're claiming he's rising above it, has gone out of his way to reach out to President Obama. Sanjay Jha, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you repeat that question? I thought
my question is very simple. The BJP says that Prime Minister Modi has shed his past. Despite the past, he has gone ahead and reached out to the US President. It shows statesmanship.
Well, you know, Rajdeep, I can tell you that when Mr. Modi is concerned, I think he has on that visa issue. And, he is very smart enough, and I give him full credit for that. He's politically a very savvy animal who tries to convert a lot of these foreign policy initiatives for his domestic vote bank, for his domestic constituency. So I do believe there is a lot of, theatrics, there is, definitely atmospherics into this entire visit at this point of time. I haven't got, I'm sure you're going to discuss the details of the civil nuclear deal as well. But, end of day, I don't see anything tangible having emerged. Terrorism, etc., or intelligence sharing, we haven't heard anything tangible. So end of day, I think the fact remains that for Mr. Modi, because Mr. Obama, being the President of the United States, the most formidable individual in the world in terms of his prowess, to get him to Republic Day is definitely a positive. Nobody's going to deny that. But I think whether there is anything beyond the cosmetic, I'm not so sure.
Okay, I'm going to just take a pause on that. I want my panel to discuss that when I return, whether what the Prime Minister is achieving on the foreign policy front benefits him domestically. The point that Ajay made. We saw that the Prime Minister did use his successful US visit in the Maharashtra elections to build himself up as a larger-than-life figure. Is this all part of the effort with the Delhi elections just 2 weeks away? How does this play out in a city like Delhi to see perhaps the front pages tomorrow saying milestone visit, my friend Barack and the two leaders hugging each other. How will that play out in the minds of the average voter? Does the person in the jhuggi jhopri really care? Do middle class voters care? How much does foreign policy impinge on the domestic image and reputation of a politician? Namaste Obama. India and the United States breaking a 7-year-old logjam today, which was holding off the landmark civil nuclear deal. Both sides resolving key hurdles on liability of suppliers of nuclear reactors. And many see this as a triumph, in a sense, for the kind of foreign policy initiatives that the Prime Minister is taking with America. Remember, of course, this is other seat as part of a continuum stretching back to previous Prime Ministers, particularly Dr. Manmohan Singh. So the politics is playing out on this day, and it's also playing out against the backdrop of the Delhi elections. So the point I wanted to raise was whether Narendra Modi can use the kind of images and the photo ops and the general atmospherics to his advantage in what is being seen as a tough election in Delhi. Ajay Shukla made the point, and Ajay, you started it off, so you might as well take it forward. Do you believe that foreign policy initiatives of the kind that the Prime Minister has made with America will benefit him politically when it comes to a domestic election?
It's not a hypothetical question. It has already benefited him. All the foreign trips that he has made, his first visit to America, his visit to Japan, all of them filled with these high visibility public events.
And all on television.
All highly televised, and all of them featuring Modi as the, as the key protagonist in all of them. It has contributed to the building of his image as India's strong Prime Minister, as a Prime Minister with a direction for India and so on. And this will certainly play out in the Delhi elections. I was mentioning to you that the BJP cadres are already saying that Modi will be able to say that I got the most powerful man in the world to come and salute the Indian tricolour in Delhi. And that's going to help in the election.
Does that help, particularly in middle class? Remember, Delhi, middle class, upper middle class localities, they will see their Prime Minister as a strong leader who's today sharing the platform with the world's most powerful country on even terms.
He's not any stronger than Rajiv Gandhi was in 84, 85, 86. Yes. It starts leveling off because the person
that
locally...
happen 2 years from now. No. This is 6 months. We are still in honeymoon period with the Prime Minister.
We don't know. We don't know, because if you have said Achhe Din and you promise things and the delivery is delayed, things are not changing at the ground level, then the theatre doesn't play into it. Theatre plays up to a point. Beyond that, the common man says, what do I get out of it? Traffic is stopped, you are hassled. There are checkpoints in different places in Delhi. Most people, after 3 days, will be cursing and saying, they're inconvenienced. You can't move about in the center of the city.
That's one view. Yeah, Ajay is not agreeing with it. I'm just wondering whether GVL Narasimha Rao, are you going to use Mr. Modi's possible foreign policy successes on the domestic front? Delhi elections coming up in middle class localities may not quite work in jhuggi jhopris and other areas, but might work with the middle class for you?
Rajdeep, 12 years of his chief ministership has delivered him prime ministership. I think 12 years of his success and performance people have given him a mandate to be the Prime Minister. And last 7 months, 8 months that he had been Prime Minister, people of India, entire country have seen him in action. I think they will certainly be influenced by his performance, by his successes and by his delivery. So I think it's a natural part of any electoral process for people to evaluate the performance of their own leaders and convert that into some kind of an electoral that turns out to be an electoral reward. Nobody can grudge that.
No. So therefore, I'm seeing those pictures which Kamal Sibal was talking about, the two leaders walking on Hyderabad House. Certainly you don't see these pictures normally. The great skill of Mr. Modi is he'll ensure that these pictures play on television. There was the lotus pond, and someone cracked a joke, lotus meets POTUS, which is lotus of the BJP symbol and POTUS being the president of the United States.
One newspaper today has a scoop on it.
I mean, let's be clear, Sanjay Jha, what you cannot deny is that Narendra Modi seems to always be a step ahead, particularly in the way he's able to use these events. It's not as if Dr. Manmohan Singh didn't have breakthrough event with President Bush, with President Obama, but it's Mr. Modi who's been able to use them in a manner that the media is able to capture the imagination. He's going to do a Man Ki Baat on radio with the US President that will play out at 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Tomorrow the image will be Republic Day. So for 3 days, he's captured the television space, and you in the Congress party or even the Aam Aadmi party has no chance of getting any space on TV.
Well, Rajdeep, I think you're a seasoned veteran, and I have always had the highest respects for your professional experience and capabilities. Now, you will know that both America and India have an explosion in terms of media channels, paparazzi culture, the kind of, the way we basically lionize, celebrity, whether it's politics or business, sports or entertainment. And I think what Mr. Modi is doing to Indian politics, and I do believe that's a fairly new development, is the flamboyance that he's bringing into politics. Now, I don't know whether it's in sync with the realities, ground realities of India, but what he's doing is, saying that I will communicate using every platform.
It's the media age.